I'm William Thio.
And I'm Maan Maligali.
Giving you today's burning issues and the hottest news here on Newsforce.
Here are the headlines on Newsforce. Chief Justice Renato Corona finally breaks silence, declares war versus Aquino. Reputable lawyers offering to defend Chief Justice Renato Corona for free. President Benigno Aquino III approves 18-day truce with the new People's Army. Pinoy signs 1.8 trillion national budget for 2012. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows crackdown on Jewish extremists. And social networking site Facebook creates suicide prevention tool. Fair and balanced news, comprehensive reports that take you to the heart of the action. This is Newsforce.
Chief Justice Renato Corona breaks his silence and declares war against President Benigno Aquino III through his speech on Wednesday afternoon. Jillian Guerrero with this report.
On Wednesday, impeached Chief Justice Renato Corona came out slamming President Benigno Aquino III and allies in the House of Representatives, saying that his impeachment was part of the plot to make the High Court a slave to the administration. Around 3,000 Supreme Court personnel gathered at the High Court's compound in Manila to hear the top magistrate's speech, rejecting Aquino's persecution, intimidation, and bullying. With all guns blazing, Corona said that he, as the top magistrate, is the first among equals in defending the country's democracy and the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice said the impeachment charges against him could be summed up into complaints and accusations against personal acts and official actions of the Supreme Court. Corona's speech was applauded 56 times by his wife Cristina, Supreme Court spokesperson and Administrator Jose Midas Marquez, and other justices as well as his supporters. Corona, who took a fighting stance on Wednesday, said that he is ready to face the impeachment trial. For GNN, Jillian Guerrero, Newsforce.
After giving his official statement before the judiciary Wednesday afternoon, Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Corona has been directed by the Senate to answer the impeachment charges filed against him. Kat Domingo with this report.
Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Corona was officially mandated by the Senate on Wednesday to answer the articles of impeachment filed against him by the 188 members of the House of Representatives. Corona has been directed to answer the said charges within a non-extendable period of 10 days. The counting of the said period starts on Friday and is expected to commence on Christmas Day. After Corona files his reply, the House prosecutors is set to be given 5 days to respond, and the official impeachment hearings is expected to begin on January 12 in 2012. For GNN, Kat Domingo, Newsforce.
Top-notch lawyers are lining up to defend Chief Justice Renato Corona, says court spokesperson Midas Marquez on Thursday. In a statement, Mike Marquez said that he is pleasantly surprised because there are many big-name lawyers offering their services to Chief Justice for free. However, he denied reports that veteran lawyer Estelito Mendoza, who defended former President Estrada in an impeachment trial, offered to defend the Chief Justice. Meantime, Marquez said that Corona will still be the Supreme Court Chief Justice even during his impeachment trial scheduled on January 16, 2012. According to Supreme Court spokesman Jose Midas Marquez, court employees and magistrates all over the country were not ordered to declare a court holiday just so they could hear the speech of Chief Justice Renato Corona denounce President Benigno Aquino III on Wednesday. Marquez added that as a court administrator, he could order court employees and magistrates to listen to Corona's speech, but he just invited them to listen to the top magistrate's speech. Furthermore, he said that everyone who was present was there at their own will. Based on newspaper reports, thousands of court employees trooped to the High Tribunal compound to hear Corona's speech, which resulted to the temporary suspension of proceedings in the Maguindanao massacre case and other cases scheduled to be heard that day.
Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile reveals that Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Corona will need 7 senators to vote for him in the upcoming impeachment trial to acquit Supreme Court's top magistrate from the 8 articles of impeachment filed against him. Enrile elaborated that with Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago heading for the International Criminal Court, Corona will only need 7 votes to offset the mandatory 2/3 vote that will put him out of office. Meantime, Senator Francis Chis Escudero said that the impeachment trial of the top magistrate may drag on for 6 months as Corona needs to defend himself for all 8 articles of impeachment filed against him. Meantime, in Malacanang, presidential spokesperson Edwin Lasierda stated that Supreme Court Chief Justice Renato Corona should take a leave of absence during his impeachment trial to avoid dragging the entire judiciary in his own personal dilemma. Lasierda has also expressed that it was improper for the Supreme Court to suddenly call for a court holiday last Wednesday just to serve the interest of Corona. Lasierda also noted that the said court holiday has slowed and halted several hearings, including that of the Maguindanao massacre. Lasierda has also dismissed the claims of Corona's camp that the Aquino government is trying to establish a dictatorship and that pointed out democracy at its peak right now as all 3 branches, despite opposing views, are actively participating in the said issue.
Former Commission on Elections Chairman Benjamin Abalos, who is currently detained at the Southern Police District, has been reported to have difficulty in breathing in his new cell. Abalos' son, Mandaluyong City Mayor Benhur Abalos, brought a doctor to the SPD Wednesday midnight and reported that the former COMELEC chair's situation at the SPD detention cell may aggravate his health condition, given that the Abalos patriarch has suffered from thrombosis and varicose veins. The Abalos camp is now seeking for permission to put the ex-election official under house arrest. The Commission on Appointments has once again bypassed Social Welfare Secretary Corazon Dinky Soliman's appointment as the head of DSWD on Wednesday. Moreover, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago fumed during on what should have been the confirmation hearing of Social Welfare Secretary Dinky Soliman. Santiago questioned Soliman's alleged involvement in the controversial poverty eradication and alleviation certificates or peace bonds. Santiago added that Soliman was involved in the caucus of non-government organizations or Code NGO, a private entity that earned 1.4 billion pesos worth of commissions from the 10 billion peace bonds. Soliman, however, denied any involvement in the peace bonds, saying that she was no longer affiliated to Code NGO when the transaction happened.
The BRP Gregorio del Pilar was christened during the formal naval commissioning rites at the Manila South Harbor on Wednesday that was led by President Benigno Aquino III. Captain Alberto Cruz was picked to command the BRP Gregorio del Pilar that is scheduled to set sail to the West Philippine Sea next week. A bottle of basi or sugarcane wine was used to christen the BRP Gregorio del Pilar. President Benigno Aquino III approves 18-day truce with the New People's Army. And Pinoy signs 1.8 trillion national budget for 2012. Stay tuned for those stories and more reports when Newsforce returns.